All right, welcome everybody. Our meetings are being recorded today, so we will share out the recording after this call. Our hope is that if somebody, a student, a friend wasn't able to make it tonight, you can share this with them and they will have the information they need for the rest of the series. In the chat, I currently just put a few things that we're going to be talking through that will be informational for you. A link to student membership, a link to a how-to campus guidebook for Campus Center. We're going to talk about that today, as well as our contact information. So you'll see our contact information a bunch over the course of this call, and you can email Johnny and I anytime via that email. Okay, I want to start sharing screen. Johnny, you can hear me all right, right?
I can.
Okay, great. Just want to make sure I'm not talking to nobody. And if you have questions throughout this presentation, please put the questions in the chat or you can raise your hand. And we'll do our best just to respond to you all. We have a couple guests on the line that will be popping in later in the call that I'll be introducing. And then, yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. Yeah, welcome to part one of the student empowerment series. So some of you may be familiar with what this used to be, which is the student conference. Student conference was an all-day affair hosted on a Friday. And we're kind of moving away from that and shifting away because we would like to get more students involved. I think the feedback we've heard in the past is that it's a lot for one day and it's a lot of travel. So you'll see that our plan for this series will be a similar outcome and but maybe hopefully some new information that you didn't previously get from the student conference. But the idea really is that we want to show students and everybody here just the array of things that IDA can offer students and that are the career paths that students can have in our industry. So we're going to focus a little bit on that today towards the end of the call. And I will share my screen now. Okay, we're going to start with a little video that this was put together, I think, last year as people are starting to continue to trickle in, and then we will dive in.
I am an advocate for design and its community.
I am an advocate for the business of design.
I am a believer in the change that we can make through the power of interior design.
I forgot what I was saying.
I am building communities.
And I'm here to elevate our future.
I am making passion about our profession contagious.
I am determined to make a difference.
I am leading the next generation of interior designers.
I am a sponsor for design talent.
I am a mixed plate.
I wear all black.
I am addicted to caffeine.
I am a cat lady.
I designed the Starbucks and your block.
I am strong, talented, powerful.
I am making a difference. Oh
my God. Okay.
I heard I needed to pause for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
I am IIDA.
I am IIDA.
I am IIDA.
I am IIDA.
Zoe, IIDA.
I am IIDA.
Okay, thought that was a little fun one to share before we get going.
I'm an advocate for design and its community.
For the hiccup, I was like, it was going to replay that video again. I'm like, no. Okay, there you go. All right, so tonight we're gonna outline what the STEP program is all about. I kind of briefly mentioned it. We're gonna introduce chapter and student affairs leaders, and then talk a little bit about what is IIDA, go over our chapter city centers, annual themes, specifically chapter and student events, a little bit about student membership, student awards, competitions, scholarships, campus centers. And then that's actually gonna be very brief. It sounds like a lot. It'll be kind of brief. And then we're gonna dive into our design community and really what that is. And then the last 20 minutes will be the bulk of the call. We're gonna talk through some career paths, and then we'll tell you what's coming next in the next part of the series. Okay, so here we are tonight. This is like really the introductory call. So again, questions, we're here to answer them, especially on the upcoming things. The second part of the series will be industry tours. So the idea here is that we will be distributed. So rather than having one central location, we would like to host it, one event in Sacramento, one in Santa Clara, and then one in San Francisco. So in Sacramento, you'll be visiting an architecture firm on Tuesday, October 22nd. And then the following day, there will be a dealer showroom tour at one workplace. And then the final industry tour will be in San Francisco at a manufacturing carpet rep interface. So there'll be more about that event coming up, but it'll be all around the Bay Area. So if you want to go to 1, 2, all of them, you're welcome to come to all of them. There'll be a little bit something different at each one in regards to the tour, but all of them are going to be having headshots, and you'll be networking with career professionals. And then the last event, which will happen in the new year, hopefully after everybody's back from feeling refreshed from winter break. And that will be a final event in San Francisco. That'll be a large networking event. We're still kind of fine-tuning exactly what that is. But that's when we'll kind of all get together and get to meet some people maybe you didn't get to see at one of the tours, and that'll be an opportunity to really meet a lot of people. Okay, we want to introduce quickly our chapter leaders. Some of you may already know them, maybe already met them. Katie Mercer is our past president. We always have a sequence of presidents. And they're actually, you are involved essentially for 3 years. So Katie Mercer has just finished, well, not just really, but she is still, involved as our past president. Our current president, Melissa Pesce, she's actually on the call with us today. She's going to be chatting a little bit later in the call about our chapter themes. And then Brenda Wong, who is our president-elect, so she'll be coming in next year after Melissa. I think I might have seen Katie on here too. It's a good amount of people on here, which is good to see. Okay, and then your student affairs leaders. So this one is important because if you are within this region, this city center, and you don't know who these people are, you do want to know who these people are. Johnny and I are your VP of Student Affairs. So we sort of oversee all of the student affairs leaders. We sit on the board. And then within each of the city centers, which we'll go over what that really is, there are student representatives in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, Sacramento, and Fresno. They should be reaching out to you. And I think like if you have not received an email from them, please email us and say, or if you actually are an active student member or you are a leader of a campus center, we're currently actively updating this year's campus center representatives. And we'd love to hear from you. So if you guys got that going already, let us know and we'll update our list. Okay. So for some of you, this might be like, you already know this, but I wanted to talk about like really what is IIDA and what we do. We really are here to specifically advance the profession of commercial interior designers. We are a chapter of nearly 300 people. Actually, we have more than 650 across our 6 city centers, and then 15,000 members nationally across 58 countries, which is amazing. We support students, professionals, educators, firms, clients. We are continually increasing what we do. We are advocates for commercial interior designers. There's an endless amount of things that we do on the back end that really revolves around commercial licensure, especially what we do here in Northern California. And we have tons of networking opportunities. I think that is what you'll kind of probably hear time and time again about IIDA, is that we really are this big, vibrant community of interior designers and industry professionals, really here to advance design excellence, education, legislation, and accreditation. And we do a lot of things. So, wanted to touch on where we are across the country, because some of you guys will graduate and you'll move. And this is actually a great way to continuously stay involved in the industry and also just utilize the IIDA network. I myself grew up in New York, went to school in Pennsylvania, and then moved out here. So I've actually been involved in IIDA in 2 separate states. And yeah, a lot of people do that. A lot of people transfer. They come from one state to another and they'll get involved, and that's how they really grow their network, as you change throughout your career. Okay, I mentioned this earlier when we talked about the campus center student affairs leaders, but we have 6 city centers, and they each basically have an entire committee of people who help host programs and events throughout the entire year. So your school may sit within one of these city centers, and they will be specifically hosting events for your schools. You're actually always invited to come to any, say you live in Sacramento and you do want to come to San Francisco for an event, there's never a problem with that. But the goal here is really that we can distribute the network, and because we are such a big region, this allows us to have, events everywhere, and then also access students everywhere. And then now I'm going to actually pass it over to Melissa, our chapter president. She's going to talk a little bit about annual chapter themes and then the theme for this year.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Emily, and welcome to everybody. This is fantastic to see all of your virtual faces. I'm going to talk a little bit about the themes. So we decided that there were some typical themes that we tended to work around. And instead of having those kind of scattered throughout the year, we decided kind of allotting one per year and then having them rotate so that we've got 4 that we kind of go through on a regular basis to make sure that we're always kind of keeping the themes of empowerment, wellness, future, and dignity forward to the programs and the processes and tools and events that we put on. This year, we are finishing up Design for Dignity. And so when we had Pioneers in Design or the Honor Awards, we were really thinking about equal access for, if that's design tools or information, things like that, trying to make sure that those themes were embedded in the things that we're doing. And as we move into 2025, we will be looking more into design for empowerment. So things that we can do to raise each other up and really amplify our impact, not only in the design community, but in the larger community. And so as you look at this slide here, Our presidencies actually start in July and they go to the next July. So we tend to span two themes in each term. So my term has spanned dignity and empowerment, which I think is a delightful coupling of themes. And we're really, as a chapter and as a board, working right now on how we can work together to really help better define the value of design so that as all of you emerge into the profession, that you really can advocate for yourselves and be able to really have the tools that you need to do so. So this year we've been focusing on really diversifying our membership. As Emily stated earlier, it's not just people who work at firms. There are people who work for furniture dealers and for material manufacturers, people who work in client offices, and you'll hear a little bit more about that in the panel today. We've also been working with legislation to help get permitting and licensing rights for interior designers and plan to run a bill in 2025. So a lot of work from our advocacy team on that. And we are currently putting together a lot of really exciting resources so that members can have, one-pagers on things that they need to develop professionally or hot topics that we're hearing throughout the industry that, may be useful to anyone at any point in their career. And then we're going to take those kind of 3 ideas of membership, advocacy, and thought leadership into 2025 and just kind of amplify them a little bit more. So really starting to look at having some joint events with other organizations so that we can kind of cross-pollinate a little bit more. We're looking at some more education and resources around pay equity, and very exciting, we are in the process of launching a new professional development series in 2025 as well, with a focus on soft skills workshops, but we'll probably also be doing some smaller sessions on leadership training and technology as well. So stay tuned for all of that.
Awesome. And students are invited to all.
Yes, open to everyone in IIDA.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Melissa.
Thanks, Emily.
Okay, I'm going to hand over to Johnny to talk a little bit more about fun events that we have.
Hi, everyone. I'm Johnny, and I'm the Assistant VP of Student Affairs and the most recent student on the board, I believe. So I think I am quite justified in explaining just how wonderfully beneficial these events can be. As you can see, they are divided into 2 categories. There's one that is specifically oriented towards students, and those are the ones that we are organizing and wanting to really hope that you guys attend and are intended to be the audience we're catering to. And that starts with this event today, the student conference, the new StEP student conference, and essentially culminates in the rest of the events over the years, for the course of the year, like our local, regional, and national charrette, which is a design competition where any student from the Bay Area is allowed to participate. They are working for several hours at a design firm somewhere on a Saturday morning with people they've likely never met before to come up with solutions for pretty wonderful design questions that were being asked of the industry. And from there, you can qualify for the next stage of that competition, which is regional, and then perhaps have a chance to go to a place like Chicago to take part in the national charrette. And we can also proudly say that the most recent national charrette we had a Northern California winner from City College of San Francisco. So truly, they didn't really understand what they were getting into when they signed up for, but through a series of really busy, awesome days, they wound up in Chicago and taking home the final prize. So super beneficial there. We also have career days and portfolio reviews. Those are run by the city centers themselves. So depending on where your school is, or if you want to attend more than one, you can just jump around and have a portfolio reviewed by very different eyes in different places, or understand what the job market is like in those specific areas of Northern California. And then moving from there, we also have the opportunity to go to chapter events. We have our very swanky honor awards in March every year, and that's held at the SF Masonic. So it's a really wonderful affair where you can see essentially the best design projects from all over the country made by firms in the Bay Area. We have Pioneers in Design honoring really groundbreaking designers where you can see them speak about their work and talk to them afterwards. And we have chapter celebrations, like every chapter decides, hey, today would be a fun time to celebrate this specific niche part of the industry in Silicon Valley. And then the next week you're in Fresno doing the same thing. We have Leaders Breakfast, which is, again, super popular, probably one of the biggest events of the year. And that culminates in a great speaker motivating everyone from the design industry to really come together and celebrate something incredible. And even a golf tournament, which has now evolved into a pickleball tournament because we move with the times here and we thought that that was very necessary. Again, you're welcome to all of these and please do everything you can to attend.
Yeah, we have student volunteer opportunities at all of our chapter events, and then you're also just welcome to attend as a guest.
And people often ask, what does it take to be able to get invited to these events? And we do have a student membership that I cannot advocate for more. If you were to look at the prices of some of these tickets as an associate member of IIDA, you would really be amazed at how much of a bargain this is. So yeah, please be sure to look into that. We'll be definitely letting you all know about how to officially sign up as student members, because that grants you access to these events and free entry into these competitions where you have the chance to win quite a bit of money. So it definitely works in your favor to pay the membership. And if you can't, again, if there are any barriers to that, we are very happy to talk to you and work with you, either as volunteers or just as the fact that you need it. So please don't be afraid to reach out if there are any boundaries regarding that. And specifically, these are just examples of the awards that you can sign up for. I am a personal applicant of so many of these competitions just because I knew that there weren't going to be a lot of entries. It is really a numbers game, and there's quite a bit at stake to be won and honored. So even if it's just you applying for these competitions, that is something you can put on your resume. Being a part of a design charrette and going through that experience has proven to be valuable in job interviews, and understanding the need to work under difficult pressurized circumstances outside of a school context is an experience that a lot of people hiring value a lot. So even if it's just you applying with some work you do from your studio class, it is something to put on your resume and be proud of. So cannot advocate more for looking into these. And honestly, yeah, being a part of a very small number of people that generally enter. So it's very smart to look into this.
Yeah, all of the additional information about these is ida.org/foundation. Those are specifically the ones you will see here, which are a lot of scholarship opportunities and competitions. The one that we host, that's actually not on here, is the Honor Awards. You guys might be familiar with that one. That is also an opportunity to win some scholarship money and also join us at the Honor Awards. And if you're a winner, you get to go on stage and accept the award, which is really exciting at the Masonic every year. The campus.
And
what's a campus center, Johnny?
I did not know myself going into this, and I was told in class one day by one of my professors that they have a link to an organization called IIDA, and they have a campus center, and it happened to be made up of, after that class, myself and one other person. So the takeaway there is that it does not take much to be a campus center and affiliated with IIDA. A lot of times it's based around the interior design or architecture club of universities themselves. And often they work hand in hand with being like, hey, we are the club on campus, therefore we are going to be the campus center. because the alignment makes perfect sense. So please check in with your schools to see if there is a campus center. And if there's not, the sign-up process could not be easier. We have a very simple form over here that we're also going to be sending out for anyone to have access to. And it's just a matter of putting in the information and ticking all the boxes. And as far as we're aware, it does not cost any money to officially be affiliated. So yeah, take a look here and see if your school is officially having a campus center. And if not, please feel free to reach out to us, and we would love to make that official, because like we've said previously, we have specific competitions geared toward campus centers as well, where if they're putting on events they would be hosting anyway for their clubs, oftentimes that would translate to being something super beneficial as members of IIDA, and they can win quite a bit of money to keep supporting those types of causes. So please reach out, but we'll definitely be wanting to follow up and see that as many schools represented here have official campus centers, because it's super important for our connection to you guys.
Yeah, thank you to all the schools that currently are active campus centers. The renewal process is happening in the application right now. So we have until November 8th, which isn't that long. It's very simple. As Jenny mentioned, it is the only fee really is that you would need to be an active IIDA student member in order to apply for this. So that's really the only cost to you. But once you are a campus center, you'll be paired up with our city center leaders. And the goal here is for the city centers to really help the campus centers put on events, connect you to the network of your city center, and really bring you into the industry and work together. So I think that's going to be a big push for Johnny and I this year, is to directly connect all campus centers to the city centers and the appropriate people, so that you're not only getting involved in the events that we're hosting specifically for students, but also for the events at large, all of the events that were happening. I think in the past we've had this delineation, and we want to make sure it's very clear that we want you there in all regards. Okay, so this is moving into a little bit more about our design community. And hopefully you'll learn something new here. This was kind of a hard slide to make because I'm gonna miss a gazillion jobs and a gazillion roles. And the idea here is just to hint and show you the many, many, many paths that are within the commercial interior design industry. Sometimes it's referred to as the A&D community. You hear that a lot. The A&D community just means the architecture and design community. But in my brain, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of feedback after really how to edit this, is that there's these three big buckets. There's the architecture and interior design firms, the industry partners, and then the corporate real estate. So the architecture and interior design firms, just within that bucket, there are so many paths that you could take. Whether you want to become strictly interior designer, design director path, you are a more technical person, you are a technical designer, and you become an architect. There are strategy roles within our firms, management, so on and so forth. So I'm touching on just like a few of those, but that's within the firms. And then there's our industry partners, which is a massive, massive sector. These are all the people that we work with on a daily basis, and that we completely rely on essentially. There are real estate partners within that sector, general contractors, the people that are building the projects that we design. We refer to them as the GC, product and sales manufacturer representatives. You'll see a range of names within that sector. I'm kind of putting a blanket statement on that they're product and sales representatives, but even just within that, there's like a gazillion paths. Furniture dealer, I remember this was the one I always messed up when I was in school, because it was a little bit of like, what do they actually do? And maybe we can get into that later on in the series, but essentially we partner with them to order and design and plan and specify our furniture in our projects, commercial projects. Furniture dealers actually do so much though now. I mean, they have their own projects where they are specifically focused on furniture. That could be a whole conversation. Would love to chat more about that, but that's always like one I get students always asking me, like, what are they? But then we have our consultants. So within the consultant world, we have people who focus specifically on acoustics, lighting, and many other things. So the other bucket is corporate real estate. Within corporate real estate, we have facilities managers, occupancy planners, workplace people who focus on designing guidelines that we're working with in the architecture firms, workplace researchers. The corporate real estate world, sometimes the easiest way to think of it is like a Google. They're so big that they have so much real estate that they hire internal teams to help manage the design and standards of their corporate real estate. But yeah, these are just lightly touching on the many, many, many paths that people can take within the commercial interior design industry. Oftentimes I have conversations with students and they're one-track mind towards a firm, and that's wonderful. But I think over the course of this series, and as you start to go to firms and furniture dealers and manufacturers, you'll see how many other paths there are for you. Industry sectors within our industry. You guys probably actually, have studios within a lot of these at this point. So we can be quick here. There's obviously healthcare, education, corporate, which is really all of the workplace, retail stores, hospitality, restaurants. You'll hear lab and research a lot now as like this big growing industry in the Bay Area. Mixed use development. I think there even could be under corporate, there's a gazillion breakdowns of all the different corporate real estate that we do, from legal, financial, tech, AI, and all of those have like very specific niches that people will focus on in their careers. And, in IIDA, we are really focused on the commercial interior designer. And your parents, or maybe even you, I don't know, but oftentimes it's the parents who never really know exactly what it is, what a commercial interior designer is. Maybe you can send this to them, because we're clearly not decorators, but we do a little bit of that, and we love that. But the center here is kind of showing just the differences between what we view, what is an architect, where do we overlap with architecture, and then what is that residential decorator and designer. I think the biggest difference between the residential and the commercial designer is that we are really following life safety, fire, building codes, and specifically designing towards accessibility. We are working directly on projects that have to deal with the electrical, data, acoustic parts of a project. And then, we do overlap. We'll do a little bit of the furniture and fixture, specification, procurement, placement, all of that stuff. But I always thought this was a good one just to share. We'll send this out after in case you want to dive deep into it. Okay. So we're going to end on just talking through some career paths. So obviously career paths are not linear or one size fits all. And we're going to talk to Johnny, who you've already met. We have Jim Allen here, who's going to talk through his career path. He actually inspired me to pick a really old photo of myself. I was like, should have asked you, Johnny, to do the same. I was like, let's pull old photos of us from college. But you're not that far out of college, but yeah, so this is actually me from when I graduated from college. So what we're gonna do is start off with really just telling you all our tasks, and then we'll go through a couple little small, easy questions. So I'll have Johnny kind of kick us off on where he's at, what he's done, all the things.
Thank you, Emily. Yes, I am the most recent grad, but this was also a career change for me. So I'd like to think of myself as the representative for the young designer in this scenario and a non-traditional student. I had a bachelor's degree in business and journalism previously, and I worked as a salesman for a custom sock company for 6 years, but did not see that as my calling in life, strangely enough. So I went back to school. I went to City College for 3.5 years, taking classes in the evening and building my portfolio at the same time. And throughout that process, I discovered IIDA and got a wonderful mentor through that program and entered a bunch of design competitions just to see what working under real world circumstances is like. And yeah, I even built a little side business trying to build my portfolio. And through all of that and IIDA shifting my portfolio around and helping me network appropriately, I made the career change 2 years ago and am now a designer at MBH Architects, and we do retail design. So we are definitely commercial designers, and it's been a very non-linear path for me, where this is definitely the beginning stages of my design career, but I have taken so much from my previous life as a sock salesman, and it's actually been incredibly useful. So if anything, I want people that are seeing this as a career change, perhaps have had different experiences outside of the design world, to really recognize that those are fruitful experiences and can be applied to not only design, but any other facets of your life. And don't be scared to use those experiences as a part of your story when you apply to companies. I mean, a lot of people are going to have the technical skills that you do as a designer and having been through the classes and the studios at school, but real life experiences are honestly the real turning point in a decision in interviewing candidates. So just know that there's so many different facets of your past that you should tap into. But the main thing is that you have the passion and the skills for this industry, and you should be fine. Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. Jim, he's been waiting on here.
I'm ready to go. Hey,
Ready
John,
to go.
that was really great. It's and it's really true what you said about how everything is built upon, right? From my old photo there. I think I win the contest here, by the way, for oldest photo. But that's how I began. I started, this was when I lived back in New Jersey 20 years ago, and I was working through college, and I got a job, and I had no intention of getting involved in lighting or being involved in lighting. And 30 years later, here I am. I'm still in lighting, and I've had the opportunity to travel internationally with lighting, and I've had the opportunity to take on roles nationally, regionally, internationally. I think all of our industries, they kind of share a lot of tentacles. We can go in a lot of different directions within our industry, and within lighting, I've had the opportunity to be involved in product development, in marketing, in administration, in sales. I've had the opportunity to travel, and there's pros and cons to all of that. So maybe another time, another story. But when you go back to Arizona for the 15th time, you know, and sometimes you don't want to be back in Arizona at that point. You want to be home with your dog and your family, and you come back home and your dog doesn't recognize you, and so forth. So, but all of these things, and I'll pick up again on what Johnny said about life experiences. They all are built upon what you want to do ultimately, and becoming kind of a subject matter expert in for what I do for lighting and controls. And our industries, they are not shy on progress. So that affords you a great opportunity as well to continue to evolve and to lead, and to curate your own little pathways. So yeah, it's been an excellent opportunity for me, and being involved in our industry and being involved in organizations like the Illuminating Engineer Society, which is the kind of the sister of the IIDA for lighting, and being involved in the IIDA and all the fun events that they have, and having the opportunity to network and build a network of people that I work with on a regular basis. So yeah.
Love that. Yeah, I met Jim through the industry, and then he introduced me to like the lighting world, which became this like whole other, like I didn't realize it was like almost like this whole other industry within our industry that was specifically lighting. They have their own lighting shows and lighting awards and all of the things. And I didn't know that until like last year when I went to the lighting awards, which were so fun. All right, so my turn. I've been talking a lot, but I went to school in Philadelphia. In the picture is actually my now husband. So we met in school, like 10 years later, got married. We moved out here together almost 10 years ago. When I was in school, I went to Drexel. So they had the co-op program. So during school, I was doing internships with Nelson, which is a firm in like a larger firm in Philadelphia. And then I was always working at a firm like in the library. I worked at local small firms in the library. And that was incredibly helpful. It's actually when I first got involved in IIDA I was speaking to a sales rep for laminate, and they were like, "Are you a student member for IIDA?" And she was like, "You should come to this event." And that kind of just like opened up the door for me for to IIDA. And I was just, an intern at the library, which I always tell people, if you're getting into interior design, it's a great place to start because you just learn so much about product. And then I moved over to San Francisco, and I was pretty young. I was only like a year or two out of school. And I started a very small firm, Design Blitz. So it was about 12 people. And when I started there, I had no idea what tech was. I really had no idea about almost anything in the Bay Area. I had never even been to California. But being at a very small firm, you kind of become this little generalist doing everything, which was great. I got thrown into working with Google my first year, which was amazing, and some other smaller tech companies. And I started to kind of form my path of working for tech and designing for tech, specifically. So tech kind of has, in the Bay Area, has historically had this certain aesthetic to it. When I started, it is ever evolving aesthetic to the tech workplace. But that has become kind of my niche. I pivoted from the very small firm of 12 to Gensler for the past 6 years. And many of you guys know Gensler, but I've been worked there for 6 years, just working specifically also on tech. That was really my studio, and I learned so much there. And then that sort of led into my current role, which I am literally day 2 in. So I don't have much to say about my current role because it's day 2. But for the past 5 years or so, I have been working with Meta at Gensler. So there was an opportunity for me to pivot a little bit and be solely working with Meta. So my role now is architectural designer for CBRE at Meta. So that sounds really confusing for people, but essentially I'm a contract worker for Meta. And I'll be working specifically on their workplace and their guidelines and making sure that across North America, their offices are, running smoothly. Figure out what that actually means in the next couple of months, but that's kind of where I'm at currently. Okay, so now I kind of want to pivot. If there are any questions, put them in the chat. If you have specific questions for Johnny, Jim, myself, please put them in the chat or raise your hand or just like talk out. But if you don't have questions, I wanted to ask everybody if you had any like specific advice for students coming out of school who, want to get an internship, want to get their first job, what is something that you would offer them? And I'll start with you, Johnny.
Attend and apply. It doesn't matter you should want to put your full focus and attention into anything you do, but just showing up on a Saturday morning for a design charrette with zero preparation could be one of the most useful experiences you've had. Just putting a Sunday aside to write an essay about mentorship experience in design could get you a trip to Chicago. Just having these experiences on your resume has been so helpful, and just going to those events, you're both inspired by the other people that are there attending and participating with you, but the people that set those up and attend as mentors and professionals in the industry, they see you and they remember you, and just having one conversation with someone could be the difference between having a referral to a job you dream of or having someone have heard of you at a company. And it's just been really fantastically useful for my professional growth.
I may state the obvious here, but always be looking, like in your surroundings when you're moving through wherever you are. See what's happening there as far as design. See what they've done with the space. When I look around and I'm moving through airport concourses, convention centers, retail environments, I'm looking at lighting. And I know that's a very, very focused answer, but there's something about it that draws you in, and it helps me think. So next time I'm brought into a project for a retail sector or a tech sector, I have something that's always kind of toiling in my head that I've thought through, and I'm a little bit more prepared.
I love that. Like always learning
to bring it through, right? So
yeah.
Yeah,
I think both those are kind of spot on. It's like you have to always, we have a different brain, like as creatives. I think we walk into a space and we notice everything, we observe everything, and we think about everything. Oh, how did they do that? How did they make that? What did they do here? And I think that's the beauty of all of these kind of paths in our industry, is that we see the world in a much different way. And as you progress through your career and you meet new people, I think that is something I've always noticed, whether I'm talking to a designer or like a friend. If it's like designer, we're all speaking the same language and we're all like, oh my God, this is how they made it. This is what they did. And then you speak to somebody else, they're like, what? You noticed that? Or like, wow, I love the way you think. But that idea of like always noticing the lighting, because we're just like always thinking about it. Like your brain's always turned on towards that. I still remember, Jim, on a flight, you were trying to tell me about like lighting calculations, and Jim really is lighting all the time.
I would say one other. I remember that. I would say this is also maybe a little bit obvious as well. Question everything, right? I was on a trip with your friend Samantha a number of years ago. We went over to Spain, and we met with an exceptionally interesting craftsperson, artist named Arturo Alvarez, and he did this thing that he inserted a single LED diode in behind this wooden piece about 1 inch by 1 inch, but it illuminated the entire mesh screen and put that image on a wall. And from afar, it's dramatic looking. It really draws you in. But I was so curious, I started pulling apart his products, right? And to see how did you put this together? How did that work? What was the end result? So to me, it's a matter of, even when I'm looking at lighting brands and having a little bit of a background in product development, question everything, right? How did we get that in there? How can we get that in there? And to me, I think that drives innovation, right? So
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think that would probably be in line with what I would offer as advice, especially coming into the industry, and being new to everything, that you should also ask everything and anything and give your design input, because I think we all, as designers and creatives, see things in different lights and ways that we can always offer just somebody who has been looking at something the same way for years and years, or they're kind of just stuck. The beauty of being fresh out of school and fresh into the industry is that you have this creative lens that sometimes is clouded as you progress through the industry. Not always. I actually really strive to not cloud myself with the cost of things and the lead times, and you can't do this and all these things, but it happens. But when you're a student and you're fresh out of school, the ability to just give your design input and ask the questions is super helpful. I've actually loved working with students and interns, specifically on like creative competitions, because you guys honestly come up with the best ideas. So that would definitely be what I would say. Okay, any questions in this chat? I got a couple. One question about career days and portfolio things. So I asked about specific city centers so that I can connect you with them. If there's nothing currently on the website, they don't have anything planned right now, but that's always changing. So we can always, yeah, update you on that. Okay, we have a couple minutes left, so I'm gonna ask another question. And Johnny, I don't know if you had any questions you wanted to ask, but I was gonna ask the question that you kind of mentioned earlier about like soft skills and the importance of those. If there's like, what's your superpower kind of? And if there's been something that has like helped you throughout your career?
Yeah. So I would say my sales background, my job was to be rejected and to essentially be able to talk to a wall. So when it comes down to presentations of projects, I feel like that is an invaluable soft skill as a designer. It's one thing to be able to utilize all your technical skills to create a gorgeous project, but if you're not able to get up there and explain why this is so wonderful and useful and necessary, then I think that's a really unfortunate inability to fully put your idea forward. So yeah, those types of experiences have been really fruitful for me. I love talking about my work and being a little theatrical, so it's really worked out well for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I like asking this question because I think that it's valuable to like, I don't know, kind of, we all have something that we're just a little like recognizing what that is always good. So Jim, do you have one?
Johnny paints such an ugly picture of sales getting rejected. It is. There's ebbs and flows to all this, right? So, having some thick skin from time to time goes a long way. Engaging with the people that you're around. There's asking them questions and finding out what I don't know, what makes their motor run, right? So, to me, the best engagement I've had in my career has been just getting to know someone on a personal level, right? And just breaking down that barrier a little bit, in the simplest of terms, it has opened up a lot more doors to just get past the immediate need for we need the specification written right now. It just helps a lot. It disarms everybody in the equation. And sometimes our lives are super hyper focused and it's full engagement from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. A little disarmament, if you disarm yourself and allow yourself to be disarmed, it goes a long way. So don't hesitate to make yourself a little personal from time to time. So
yeah, I think that definitely is your superpower, Jim, for sure. I feel like that just being able to, because our industry can be stressful and time consuming, and we all put a lot of time into it, just the ability to either message somebody, a partner, and be like, hey, I need this, because you have previously had this personal connection, they really do become friends. And so we do each other favors. Having that connection goes a long way. Yeah, from project to project, day to day, all the things. So I completely agree. All right, so we have advice. There's a question here. Advice from somebody transitioning from residential into commercial. Well, that's a good question. And I probably don't totally have the right answer. I actually would almost want to find you someone who has done this, because I have not.
Yeah, Emma, if I can,
Yeah.
I first started in residential lighting design.
Oh,
That's how I
perfect.
first started my career. And, the biggest difference between residential and commercial for me was, again, the personal touch that is required in the residential side. It's a little bit less required, in my experience, on the commercial side. So you can put your personality into a commercial project, but you're not engaged directly with the residents of a house, which is an exceptionally personal experience for them. So there's that separation there, right? You're adding, I think, in the commercial side, a little bit more of your personality to the project, for a larger scale of people than an individual or two. So yeah, I think it's easier to tell you the truth. So
yeah, I like that. Johnny, I don't know if you had any thoughts or feelings on that. The only thing I could add to that is that, commercial interior design, we have specific, on the technical side, we have specific codes that we need to follow in order, for all commercial projects. But I am also taking your name, and I'm sure we have even more people in our industry who have done this transition, which is great. Bethany, also, we're almost at time. Bethany asked about mentorship programs, and if we were going to talk about that tonight. We're not going to talk about that tonight, just because we're out of time here. But we have specific IIDA national mentorship programs that are run on a yearly basis, where you are paired up with somebody. But that's actually across the country. And then we have professional development programs that also do mentorship programs. So there's a couple ways to approach it. In our follow-up email, which will include the slide deck and a bunch of other links, we will include information on mentorship and upcoming events. Okay, thank you, Jim, Johnny, so much. You will see their faces again, I'm sure. I think that was great. The last
Thank you,
thing I
Vina.
want to mention is that the next thing is industry tours. So we're going to keep doing this. This is really just the kickoff because we want to like grease the wheels. And the next one, we're going to continue to have conversations with professionals. We will start in Sacramento at an architecture firm, move our way around the Bay. So come to one, come for all, whatever you want. We'd love to see you there. There will be refreshments, headshots, and lots of networking. If you go to our website, I don't think the links are live yet, so they are coming very shortly. And we really hope to see you all there. And please reach out if there's any questions in the next week or so, and we will do our best to answer your questions through that IIDA Student Affairs email. Okay, thank you. Right on time.